Scott Adams, the polarizing and influential creator of the iconic Dilbert comic strip, has passed away at the age of 68. The news was confirmed late Tuesday following a medical emergency at his home in Northern California. While Adams became a lightning rod for controversy in his later years, his work redefined the portrayal of corporate America for decades. Today, we're looking at the life, the career, and the complicated legacy of a man who changed the funny pages forever. Here's the bottom line on the passing of Scott Adams. The news broke on the evening of January 13, 2026. According to official reports confirmed by the Washington Post and local authorities, Scott Adams was found unresponsive in his residence. Emergency services were called to the scene, but despite life-saving efforts, he was pronounced dead. He was 68 years old. To understand the weight of this news, we have to look back at what Adams built. Born in Windham, New York in 1957, Adams didn't start his career as an artist. He was a corporate worker, spending years at Pacific Bell and Crocker National Bank. It was during these years of meetings, cubicles, and middle management jargon that the seeds for Dilbert were sown. The comic strip officially launched in 1989. It didn't take long for it to resonate. At its peak, Dilbert was appearing in over 2,000 newspapers across 65 countries and 25 languages. For anyone who had ever felt the frustration of a pointless meeting or a pointy-haired boss, Adams was the voice of the office underdog. He turned the mundanity of white-collar life into a global phenomenon, winning the National Cartoonists Society's Reuben Award in 1997, the highest honor in the profession. While his family has requested privacy during this time, colleagues from the syndication world have begun to reflect on his professional impact. Throughout the 90s and early 2000s, Adams was more than just a cartoonist. He was a cultural commentator. His book, The Dilbert Principle, became a New York Times bestseller, proving that his insights into human behavior and corporate dysfunction were viewed as more than just jokes. They were seen as accurate sociological observations. However, any factual retrospective on Scott Adams must include the significant shift in his public profile over the last decade. In the mid-2010s, Adams pivoted from the drawing board to the digital stage, becoming a prominent social media commentator and author of books like Win Bigly. This transition was marked by intense scrutiny. In February 2023, Adams faced a massive professional fallout following comments made on his YouTube show, Real Coffee with Scott Adams. His remarks regarding race and social integration were widely condemned as racist, leading major publishing groups, including the USA Today Network, the Washington Post, and the New York Times, to drop Dilbert from their pages. His distributor, Andrews McMeel Universal, also severed ties. At the time, Adams defended his statements as a provocative use of data and hyperbole, but the impact was irreversible. He moved his content primarily to subscription-based platforms like Locals, where he continued to engage with a dedicated but smaller audience until his passing. This duality, the genius of the 90s cubicle culture and the controversial figure of the 2020s, defines his complex place in American media history. The reaction to Adams' passing reflects the polarized nature of his later life. On social media, the hashtag #ScottAdams and hashtag Dilbert have been trending since the announcement. Within the cartooning community, there is a somber acknowledgement of his technical influence. Many artists credit Adams with proving that a comic strip could be successful with a minimalist, anti-art style if the writing was sharp enough. Industry peers are noting that despite the controversies, Dilbert remains the definitive satire of the American workplace. Meanwhile, on platforms like X and Reddit, the discussion is split. Longtime readers are sharing their favorite strips from the 1990s, reminiscing about a time when Dilbert was pinned to every break room refrigerator in America. Simultaneously, others are reflecting on the cautionary tale of his later career, discussing how a once beloved figure became so deeply entrenched in cultural division. Regardless of the perspective, the consensus is that a major, albeit complicated chapter of American satire has come to a close. Scott Adams leaves behind a legacy that is impossible to summarize in a single sentence. He was a man who saw the absurdity in our daily lives and turned it into a global empire, only to spend his final years at the center of the very cultural storms he once observed from a distance. Whether you remember him for the sharp wit of the 90s or the headlines of the 2020s, there is no denying that he left an indelible mark on the landscape of American media. Now, we want to hear from you. When you think of Scott Adams and the legacy of Dilbert, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Do you believe his early work in corporate satire will outlast his recent controversies in the history books? Let's keep the conversation respectful in the comments below. For more factual, verified updates on the figures who shape our culture, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This is Celeb Buzz USA, keeping you informed with the truth behind the headlines. Thank you for watching.